The scribe who copied Archimedes' work used sheets of parchment. To make parchment, skins of young goats and sheep are soaked for several weeks in a solution of old lime, then draped over a wooden beam and scraped with a dull knife. Then the clean skins are tensioned like a drum on a wooden frame and left to dry, and scraped once more with a razor-sharp blade. The skin of one goat provides 2 large sheets, about 15 by 12 inches in size. So, even in its current incomplete state, the Archimedes manuscript consists of 87 sheets, in other words, the skins of 43.5 goats. Once trimmed, the parchment was prepared for writing by ruling the lines with a blunt point. To write the text of Archimedes' work, the scribe used a reed pen and ink made from crushed oak galls, that is, small, abnormal tree growths formed by insects, rich in tannic acid. Once his copying was complete, the scribe nested 4 folded sheets together to form a kind of booklet known as a quire, and then assembled all of his quires in their proper order, sewing them together with a robust linen thread. After he'd attached wooden boards and end bands, the book would have looked much like this one. Finally, the scribes covered the boards with a piece of tanned and dyed goatskin and attached woven leather straps to keep it closed. The completed Archimedes manuscript in the 10th century was a large book, over a foot in height. However, the Archimedes manuscript as it survives today appears this way, a mere 8 inches in height. Inside, instead of Archimedes' theorems and formulae, is a medieval Christian prayer book. Where are the writings of Archimedes? If you look closely, you can still see them, beneath the religious text. What happened? The answer to this mystery has involved elaborate research, modern literary detective work, if you will. By piecing together clues from throughout the centuries, we've formed a biography of the book, where it's been, how it survived, and how it's been returned to the public eye. Apparently, in the 12th century, 200 years after the Archimedes text was written, another scribe, we believe in Constantinople, took the manuscript apart. With a sharp knife, he scraped off as much of the Archimedes text as he could. He cut the leaves in half along the inner fold so that he could make a book half the size. Then, he turned the pages by 90 degrees and folded them in half. This second scribe ruled fresh lines and copied his religious texts onto the parchment. The result we call a palimpsest, a text on parchment that has been overwritten with other text.
Palimpsests were made a lot in the Middle Ages because writing material was in short supply. It was expensive, especially parchment, but even paper, though cheaper, wasn't always readily available. And Archimedes would be a good candidate to become palimpsest because it wasn't one of the popular texts. You had to be an advanced mathematician to understand it. So to have a copy still surviving is a great piece of good fortune.
To the second scribe who copied the religious text over the original work, the underlying mathematical theories of Archimedes were, quite literally, not worth the parchment they were written on. The second scribe was, in effect, recycling valuable parchment. Far more important to him was the Christian need for a prayer book or euchologion that contained texts for repentance, prayers for the sick, even a naming ceremony for a child. And so the work of Archimedes lay hidden for centuries in this Christian disguise. How did this small book survive through the centuries? We know that once the manuscript had become a religious text, it was cared for as a sacred document in the Holy Land at the monastery of Mar Saba, between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. The monastery is a lofty and colossal structure rising in stories and terraces to the top of a magnificent but barren gorge in the heart of the Judean desert, the wilderness where Christ himself wandered for 40 days. The monastery still flourishes, soon to celebrate 1,500 years of continuous prayer. This hasn't always been easy. The monastery's chapel houses the bones of monks martyred for their beliefs. Despite this, the monks themselves have a great reputation for hospitality and the care of the sick. And so our prayer book, which contains exorcisms for unclean spirits and prayers for the sick, would undoubtedly have played an important role in the community's daily life. We believe the monastery provided safe haven for the book for over 400 years, in the library at the top of Justinian's tower, the apex of this extraordinary complex of buildings. Early in the 19th century, the manuscript was moved to the library of the Greek Patriarch in the Christian quarter of Old Jerusalem, some 10 miles away. The library is next door to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the Patriarch has his throne. Traditionally the centre of the earth, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the most holy place in Christendom, housing the site of Christ's crucifixion, the Rock of Golgotha, and of his resurrection, the Holy Sepulchre itself. We believe that the book then travelled from this church to a related religious community, the Metochion of the Holy Sepulchre in Constantinople, where the book had been made 900 years earlier. We know the Archimedes manuscript was in Constantinople in 1846 because the biblical scholar Constantine Tischendorf visited the Metochion in that year to study the library's substantial collection of manuscripts. Tischendorf claimed to find nothing of particular interest apart from a palimpsest dealing with mathematics. Tischendorf took a leaf from this manuscript. It is now housed in Cambridge University Library in England.
A colleague suggested that I should go to Cambridge to look at a single leaf of a palimpsest with an unidentified mathematical text. I went to Cambridge in due course and started looking at it. Very soon I was able to say, this is Archimedes, and I realized that this leaf actually fits into the Archimedes palimpsest between folios 2 and 3.
Tischendorf himself didn't fully grasp the importance of the palimpsest. It wasn't until 1906, armed with but a magnifying glass, that the Danish philologist Johann Ludwig Heiberg meticulously transcribed the manuscript, perhaps only vaguely suspecting its origins at first. His achievement, without the benefit of modern technology, was little short of miraculous. The next year, Heiberg began to publish his work. Heiberg's announcement that he discovered a previously unknown treatise by Archimedes made headlines in the New York Times on July 16, 1907.